I was lying under the little straw hut, on sand that felt like thick brown sugar, with my eyes gliding over the waves that made the sea uninviting. It felt like a storm was coming. Little did I know that later that day, a thunderstorm would whiz through my mind, uprooting my beliefs on what the world should look like. I had just finished a consulting project in Accra, Ghana, and was on what felt like a deserving holiday in a little fishing village, a remote little town off the west coast of Africa. I met a girl called Akua that day. With her thick black camel eyelashes and extremely expressive face, she charmed me and convinced me to read to her a classic piece of literature I'd been reading, The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. I read out a phrase one by one, and she would repeat. She had a little sister on her back, and when she started crying, Akua would go her and sing her a song and come back to reading. We did this for a week every day until the sun set, and it was too dark to read anymore. When I was leaving the town, I asked Akua where and when she went to school. She just simply shook her head. She was 9 years old. I left her with the book, but most likely should have had to wait until a random traveler like me happened to come along to her to read to her. Can you imagine a world where you had to rely on a random encounter to satisfy your immense curiosity? If this room were representative of the world, you, and 5 more of you would not be sitting here in this room because you would not be able to read or write, as you would have been denied access to schooling. What I did not tell you about Kua is that all 4 of her brothers actually went to school. Because the family could not afford schooling for all their children, the boys went to school while the girls stayed home. Girls' education matters. Imagine if this room was representative of the world. 8 of the 12 people who cannot read and write in this room will be women. And for those of the men out there who complain about the gender ratios in this room, you know exactly what this means. It means less girls in classrooms. Girls' education matters. Every day I sit in that seat in class, and I feel grateful to be one of the women who can read and write. I think of Akua. I also think of my grandmother. My grandmother was born into a generation where women at most went to finishing school in the aftermath of the Korean War and had a stable married life as their utmost virtue. Instead, she went to university, demanded a divorce from her philandering husband, and raised 3 children of her own. Could she have done this without the education she received? Could I be standing here talking about my grandmother without her instilling in my dad the value of educating girls? Would you be sitting here in this very room without your parents investing into your future? Girls' education matters. Every child is born equal, and every girl or boy must have exactly the same dreams as you and I do, and they have the right to realize their dreams. Yet, that you don't know what you can dream of if you don't know what you could be dreaming about, whether that being a tech billionaire or changing the world. The Akuas of this world dream of heaven's embroidered cloths, yet their dreams are treaded on by the family chores, attitudes to women's schooling, and unaffordable basic education. In 2000, the United Nations declared that by 2015, everyone should have access to universal basic education. Yet here we are in 2014, a year to go, in a world where 1 in 5 girls do not get basic schooling. We cannot leave Akua's and millions of others' dreams to chance. Girls' education matters, and it's not just a right that they have. It matters so much to her own sense of self-worth, as she earns 20% more for every year she stays in primary school, and to her health, as she is 3 times less likely to contract HIV if she finishes primary schooling. It's also been shown that the girl's education touches so many more lives than just her own. Can you imagine a world where you could halve the number of children who die before the age of 5 and double the number of children in primary school? Well, you can help do that by facilitating women's education. Educating girls is like educating future generations like me and you, like the way my great-grandfather and my grandmother did. And it's educating your sisters, your daughters, 50, 100, and 1,000 years later as they continue to dream on exactly the way you and I do. So, what can you do? At this point, you're probably thinking, Heejae is going to ask to donate money. Well, if you'd really like to do that, it only takes $13 a year to keep a girl in primary school. But my call to you is even easier than that. I'll ask you to do 3 things. You can think, you can endorse, and you can support. They only all take a moment. First thing you can do is think through how here at the heart of Silicon Valley, you can help women's education. Take a moment to see how the new technologies and the business models can be applied to delivery of basic education beyond and above MOOCs and online learning. Second thing you can do is to endorse Education for All Act. Education for All Act commits the US to invest its foreign aid to the goal of universal primary education. See if your representative is a co-sponsor of this act, and if not, take a moment to pick your phone up. Third thing you can do is to support and grow a woman's business. A mother's income is so much more likely to flow through the children and the family as she feeds her children and sends them to school. So take a moment to donate to organizations like BRAC or Spark to advance economic empowerment of women. Girls' education matters. Imagine a world where all the world's akuas could be talking not which random encounter helped them to read, but which book they like the best, or which company offered them equal pay. Of course, I hope that her favorite book is not the Stieg Larsson's trilogy, but I do hope that she has the best book to read. Girls' education matters. Someone needs to care deeply to make this change happen, and that someone should be us. We all need to teach the value of education for all. Now is the time to take a moment, because if we can care about equality in the boardroom, we can also care about equality in the classroom. Now is the time to take the moment, because we cannot leave a girl's dreams to the whim of a chance encounter. Now is the time to take that moment, because a girl's education matters to me, and it should matter to you. Thank you.